Okay, turn the music off. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. This is the Epiphanist, and this is Use Your Weapon. Thank you for coming by today. Thank you for coming by today. Today's topic is the system getting mundane? Today's topic is the system getting mundane? We've talked about quite a few things in the series of could I sell you the religion of Christianity today? So Jesus, God or guru, we've made that distinction. I think I've made that distinction, and a lot of us have made that distinction. This feels really dark right here. Goodness gracious. It feels really dark. But nevertheless, let's get into the topic. So the topic today is the system getting mundane? And, you know, we went over a couple things. So this is Use Your Weapon. My channel is about, we talk about religion. We talk about spirituality. We talk about the lack of spirituality in religion. And we also talk about voodoo. We talk about ancestral birthright is what we are. We have a birthright. And so we talk about spirituality and how to find that outside of Jesus. And I say that because I have recently started a journey from Christianity, and I've started to log that journey from Christianity, and it's become rather interesting. So the first topic that we had was Jesus, God or guru. And we came to the conclusion of we had to determine what a God was and what a guru is, and it's not what it is in general, but it really is what it is to you. What is God to you? And if you compare God to guru, what is a guru, And so we came to the understanding that the guru, only difference is between the you and the guru is discipline. The guru's discipline is fixed. So when spirituality hits him and his obedience is what is required. So the guru discipline and his obedience is fixed. And that's the difference between me and the guru, you and the guru. It really is that the guru is fixed. His obedience to the master is fixed. So we had to understand that the guru is really no different than you and I if we can get our thoughts and our actions to become fixed. Okay, so the man Jesus, and the reason why I call him the man Jesus is because Jesus never called himself a God. He always depicted himself as the Son of Man. So when we talk about the Son of Man and we talk about his obedience was fixed, he had a fixed mindset. So that was pretty much your Jesus and your gurus. You decide. Truth is what you decided to be. Then we also talked about the idea of counterintuitive. And I like that word, counterintuitive. Now, let's talk about what that means. Counterintuitive means often, nevertheless, true, contrary to intuition or common sense. It's nevertheless true. So we try to give a little bit of wisdom here. And in that wisdom, you have to learn to start to think counterintuitively. And I put that in front of you first because before we enter into more wisdom, I want you to understand that you have to keep counterintuitive thinking at the forefront of your thinking. Okay? So I'm going to bring that back up ever so often, but I want you to understand counterintuitive. And remember, today's topic is the system getting mundane? Is this system of religion mundane? Could we use more spirit? So the topic today is the system mundane, but we're going over a few other topics that we've already recently visited just to get an understanding of where we are. So, counterintuitive, often nevertheless true. Our one of our casts was about Proverbs, and we talk about the Bible on this channel because this channel is about religion and spirituality. It's about the, moving past Jesus. It really is. If you are looking for wisdom, and wisdom, it really is just knowledge, applied knowledge. So if you're looking to find some knowledge, and how you apply it is up to you. So if you're looking to find some knowledge, we can help you here. I think we can help you here. We can help each other because, helping each other is really what it's all about. You help me, I help you. We all have a destination. So one of the other topics was, what is a proverb? What is a proverb? And I know when we go to our religious ceremonies in church and they say, turn to the book of Proverbs in the Bible. Well, a proverb in itself, outside of the book of Proverbs written by Solomon, who is a wise man or was a wise man, because the name Solomon means wise. So outside of the book of Proverbs, do we know what a proverb is? So if I was to say, I'm going to give you a proverb, would you know what I gave you? So a proverb in itself is just a short, pithy statement in general with a piece of truth and advice. And I give out proverbs all the time. It's kind of, I'm working on it because everybody doesn't want advice. But a proverb is just a short statement, a general statement with a piece of truth and some advice to that truth. That's a proverb. And so when you're in your religious ceremonies and your pews and your pastors and preachers and teachers tell you to turn to the book of Proverbs, they're really just giving you a piece of general advice in some truth written by Solomon, a wise man, more or less. You don't have to take it literal. You can just take the advice and apply it. So when we start to understand etymology and we start to understand words, we understand that a proverb is some statement of truth and advice. And we don't have to take it for more or less. We can take the advice, we can take the truth, and we can apply knowledge. Because knowledge is applied. Otherwise, it's not wisdom. Because if you get wisdom, you have to apply it. You have to apply it as knowledge, because otherwise it. So counterintuitive proverbs. So we already know that the only difference between you and the guru is that the guru is fixed. His obedience is fixed. We already know that. So we already know that we're having an earth experience, and I hope we know that. An earthly experience here. So we understand that this material matter is not what we are seeking. There's nothing outside of us that we should be looking for. Everything is within. The last topic was the assignment is you. Now, the assignment is you was a big topic, I thought, because it gave some clarity. And I'm really big on clarity. Really big on clarity. So before I go any further, we're 10 minutes in. I would like for you to subscribe. I'd like for you to share. I'd like for you to listen all the way through. And I'd like for you to comment. It would mean a lot for me to hear what you think, what your comments are, and to just kind of get some ideas from you. It's really nice. So when we understand that the assignment is you, the assignment is me. So that topic was really clear because it kind of puts me on a path. When I got to that point and I understood that the assignment was me. Let that sink in. There's nothing coming for you. There is nothing that is going to pop out of the sky for you. You are what's going to save you. So the assignment is you. It's me. Yeah. So put your name in the story and become your own hero. Save yourselves and your families. So this earth experience, we're here for a few reasons, we have to learn lessons or they are repeated. So remember that. Learned lessons generally are repeated. And some people could be having an earth experience because learned lessons need to be repeated. And some people are here to save people. If you could think about a family members that you're supposed to pull out from generational curses, those generational curses are true. They're real. They're so real. If you can sit down and think about what in your life, in your past, in your generation, that you see that maybe others didn't see, or maybe others couldn't affect. And you're here to change that changing. You're here to change that effect because, where the mind goes, the body goes. Where you set your path, you can set your whole family up and move them outside of generational curses. It could be you. You could be the one to get on right thoughts, right thinking, righteous path. We talk about the Bible here because the Bible is one of the greatest books of wisdom. Now, we don't have to literalize it. We can take the wisdom and apply it as knowledge. So that the understanding, because that great book, the first thing it asks us to do is get wisdom, get the knowledge, but above all the getting that you get out of that book, above all of it, everything that's in that book, above all the getting of the book, get understanding. Get understanding. Above all you're getting. I think that is profound. Above all you're getting, get understanding. Now, we've already understood what knowledge is. It's wisdom applied. That's the only way you become knowledgeable, is that you start to apply the wisdom. So, spirit. Remember, the topic today is the system getting mundane? One of the topics was spirit. What is spirit? What is spirit? What we talked about what God was. We thought, we tried to give God a definition. What is God? Oh, God. Well, what is God? Who's your God? You know, when people say, oh God, I always want to know who's your God? Not that it matters to me, but you know. So we talked about what a proverb is. We talked about counterintuitiveness. Nevertheless, contrary to intuition, common sense, expectation is true. Just common sense. Now, what I can tell you about this system that we're talking about in the question today is the system getting mundane? What I can tell you about the system is that none of the system points are successful. All of the systems on this planet are failing. Whether it's the ecosystem, whether it's the economy, whether it's the real estate system that goes up and down, you know, none of the systems you can plant a flag on. It's all sinking sand. You know, if you can't stand on it like solid rock, it's all sinking sand. So if you know what it is, and even your book of wisdom tells you you're in the world, but not, you know, of the world. And you Bible knowers, you know it. You know, you've written the scriptures on the tables of your heart. I've spent my entire life in Christianity, and I did just that. I was obedient. I wrote scriptures on the tables of my heart, and I still enjoy the Bible. It is the greatest book of wisdom when you apply it. Now, so we went into counterintuitive. We went into this earth experience, and I think we were talking about spirit. What is spirit? So to me, spirit is the balance of nature in the cosmos. It just made logical sense to me to add the cosmos in. It just and I think that a lot of times in Christianity, when I decided to move past Jesus, that was one of the reasons, because I couldn't really understand why they didn't understand that they were standing under the cosmos, and the precious Jesus made it, and they should consider it more. The consideration of what is above you should be considered more. That was just my logic. So spirit to me was the balance of the cosmos and nature, the actual thing that we're on, the planet. You know. We talked about, last topic was absolute, the absolute versus religion. The absolute is the cosmos. It's absolute. We can only go so far up. We can only go so far down. It is absolute. And I thought about it. We should give it more thought, you know? I just feel so dark right here. And that was just one of my. And then we thought about, I thought we talked about the elements. We talked about water. We talked about sky. We talked about intelligence. We talked about mind. The mind. Where the mind goes, the body will follow. You can't affect your body. You can't affect your mind by just taking your body outside. Now your body's going to look good. But when you're trying to apply wisdom, you need to put something inside of your mind. Treat your mind and body just as good. So we talked about intelligence and mind. We talked about sky, water, fire, all the things that are here that are relevant. We talked about relevant energy. Just say it. Relevant energy. So that was one of our conversations today. We asked each other, or I asked you guys to just remember the stars. Just remember them. What else? We talked about disciple succession. What a disciple was. The man Jesus had disciples. He had 12 of them, to be exact. And in the picture of Michelangelo that depicted the Last Supper, the disciples were laid out with 6 on each side. And the reason why it was 6 on each side, you have to understand, is that everything is relative. The number 12 is relative to the universe. And that's why you have to apply the cosmos to knowledge, because if you don't apply the cosmos to knowledge, then you're missing out on knowledge, because it's all around you. You know, the presence of the Lord is here. It's here. So we talked about disciplic succession. You know what disciplic succession is that there's always one coming. And that's what your good book says. If you take some of these applied knowledges and you understand them, there's always one coming. So understand that. With your preachers and your gurus, there's always one coming. There's always knowledge coming after the knowledge that you have applied. There's always more knowledge. There's always more knowledge, because the absolute is absolute. You can't fathom the mind of God. Our eyes have not seen, our ears have not heard. So when I tell you, you can't fathom the absolute Godhead. See, we're looking for the personality of God, because what we are seeking is a personality, because that is going to take us, our mind. We're looking for the mind of God, and we're looking to emulate the mind of God. That is what we're seeking after. We are created to praise him. And our mind takes us where we're going. You know, we also talked about parallel universes. See, these things can get metaphysical, but if you apply it to where you are, it makes logic sense, because you've already been in your past and you're currently in your present. And if you have vision, if you're growing, because we already talked about anything that's not growing is essentially dead. If you're not growing, if you don't have any dreams, if you don't have any visions, if you can't see yourself in your dreams, if you can't see yourself, you got to consider where you're going. Are you growing? Do you have vision? Because honestly, anything that's not growing is dead. And these are not my sayings, these are actual facts. If you just apply facts to knowledge, they become facts. And you could then bring proverbs into it. You can start writing your own proverbs, your own facts, your own general statements that consider truth and advice, if you can get on right knowledge. So, disciplic succession, the supreme Godhead is what we're looking for. There's always one coming. Okay, we talked about being counterintuitive. We need to discuss more about public usefulness. What is public usefulness? If you literalize the word, I bet you can figure it out, but public usefulness. So how I considered public usefulness, because relevant energy, remember we talked about that. We always want to consider, is our energy relevant? When we leave this place, will we have been considered to have been relevant? And if that's not an important question to you, then move past this channel, because again, we talk about spirituality, we talk about religion, we talk about ancestral knowledge and understanding of who we are. We talk about the Bible too. We talk about great books of wisdom. We talk about moving past Jesus, because Christianity has a point. So public usefulness. I'm going to tell you what I got from that statement. So I define public usefulness as the quickening and the summoning of my soul and my energy, the consecration of my great work, and the breaking of the rod of the oppressor, breaking his rod, because in the good book that we read, again, the Bible, the Spirit tells me that the rod and staff shall follow me all the days of my life. Me. And so if the oppressor has a rod, he's not supposed to. I have to understand that, though. Because apparently he's taken the rod from some of us. And see, we have to be clear about the oppressor and his ways. See, we talked about that in one of our topics, and I think it was the assignment is you, because you got to understand why the oppressor has given you certain things, why he has tried to apply certain knowledge to your thinking. Not necessarily to and the system that you're in, the system, remember the topic today is the system mundane? The system that we're talking about today was created by my oppressor. We're currently living in the mind of the oppressor. And if you don't get into your right mind, into your right knowledge, and you got to come out of it, because in that good book, it says you're in it, but you're not of it. And that right there tells me to take material matter out of it. You're in it, not of it. So I'm going to repeat public usefulness. My definition of public usefulness is the quickening and the summoning of my soul and my energy, and the consecration of great works, and the breaking of the oppressor's rod. So relevant energy. Is your life considered to be relevant? You got to figure that out. So we talked about this word, infantilization. So infantilization is when someone treats you as a child in a way in which it denies your maturity. It denies your maturity in age and experiences. Remember we talked about your oppressor? He took and kept something from you, which means he denied you from some things, in which it kept you from maturing to your full potential, to who you really are, who I really am. Kept something from you. Just the action of knowing is phenomenal. When you know something, I believe that it was young Bush that said, one time, fool me once, shame on you. But if you fool me twice, I think it was the young Bush that said it. Now, you got to take that from applied knowledge. And the young Bush wasn't even that bright. I mean, let's get that in the atmosphere right now. I mean, let's go ahead and do that. Because this system is mundane. So the system doesn't have to be bright. It just runs on like a cycle. So most of your leaders don't have to be really that bright. They just have to know the cycle and be willing to pontificate on that cycle. So remember, infantilization, treating someone as a child in a way in which it denies them maturity through experiences in age. So we talked about that. Remember, we're talking about, is this system mundane? Last week's lesson was the absolute versus religion. We were going to differentiate. Now, I like to talk about the Spirit. The Spirit has been good to me. If you've been following me, you know that I am a survivor of child abuse. That encompassed what I would say a lot of tactics to break me from something. And I would also say that the child abuse encompassed root work, because anytime you take something from someone and you take their name, you're working at their root. So I am a survivor of root work. And my root work encompassed, techniques like, hanging animals, killing animals, darkness, putting someone in darkness deprivation, hunger, starvation as a child. So those are the type of things that I experienced as a child, and it took some of my memory. And so I just recently got my memory back about 4 years ago. And now here I say to you that in that memory, regaining of memory, I have moved past Jesus. And in moving past Jesus, it's made me understand that this system is mundane. I've had to take into consideration counterintuitiveness. Nevertheless, often true. Common sense. Expectations. Just common sense, So this is me journaling me and me moving towards spirituality and moving off of religion, Now, the oppressor gave you religion for a reason. Now, you have to understand where you are. Where you are is important. Where you are will tell your story. Remember, your good book says that he will put you on a righteous path. That righteous path is a location. Time is relevant. Your oppressor has been playing with time as well. Daylight saving times, calendar and times, moving time back and forth. The first thing you need to ask your ancestors is, where am I in this dispensation? Time is relative. So spiritual form, the spiritual form exists before matter. Think about it. Before me and you exist, there was a process, a thought pattern prior to. And so that's where your book of Genesis comes in. In religion, it tells you that in the beginning, God created heaven and earth on the first day. He created, I don't want to get it wrong, but on the second day, but it's your story of creation in your book of Genesis. So it tells you that there was something prior to. Now, that something is the spirit. Prior to the waters running on the earth, prior to the winds, prior to, there was material here that created. So that's the spirit that we're speaking to. We're speaking to not the material thing that we see, hear, feel, touch, and taste. I hear the wind, but I want to know what matter of man, woman, thing, entity, intelligence could create such beauty that we could have wind, fire, water, mind, intelligence, ego. That's the spirit that we are looking for. We're looking for the supreme Godhead. That's what we're created to praise, because ultimately we're just the matter. We're just the matter. So, relevant energy, counterintuitive. Remember, counterintuitive means often, nevertheless, personality of one that we seek. So when you are searching for absolute outside of religion, you have to separate the two, because we've had so many forms of religion. You cannot assume that the religion is absolute, because religion has changed so many times. We have so many ways of calling Allah, Buddha, Elohim, El Shaddai, Jehovah. I mean, we got so many. I could call the Lord Stanley. Oh, Stanley. But that doesn't make it any more or less, because I can affect the absolute, but the absolute affects me. Ashe? So thou art indeed a part of the atmosphere, a part of the cosmos, a part of nature. You are indeed a part of it. So when you take that into consideration, in the absolute world, there are only factual personalities. No distractions between body and soul. They're only factual. In the absolute, it doesn't matter. In the absolute world, their matter is not what you seek. The material is not what you seek in the absolute. God does not come here, or the spirit and the personality, he does not come here to deal with material. When your proposed Jesus pops out of the sky, you think he's coming to deal with material? Material matter? See, that's how somehow I had to move past certain things, because when your God cracks the sky, which is what we're looking for in the book of Revelations, you're saying that he's coming to deal with material matter. You don't have to crack the sky to deal with material matter. Do you know that there's something called quantum entanglement? There is something right now in this dispensation called quantum entanglement. These are facts. These aren't just my thinking. Quantum entanglement is when you have something, whatever, because at the top, in the universe, in the omniverse, that controls the matter here. And you can look at it in Einstein and Niels Bohr and all the scientists, they couldn't understand it, and they still can't understand it, but they know that it exists. Quantum entanglement. Just the word quantum by itself means time. See, your oppressor gave you something and took something. You better get going on what it is that they know. See, time is of the essence. So we have to make ourselves known at this time, because we are the ones. If you have melon, if you are a melanated person watching me today, you have your answer. The melon that speaks to you, the quantum, because melon is in the universe. It's 70% of the omniverse. Melon, what we possess. You don't think that that's talking to us? Why do you think we call ourselves the people of the Lord, the chosen ones? Now, I'm not here to talk about people that don't have melon, that don't spin right because they don't have melon. That's a whole nother topic for a whole nother day. But if you have melon, and if you can just look up in the sky is 70% dark matter. They have no idea what it is because it's in the dark. They can't see. You have melon. Quantum entanglement is real. Just start getting some knowledge and apply it, because that's what understanding is. It's applied knowledge. And that's what your good book says. Get wisdom, knowledge, but above all of it in that book, and that whole 66 chapters in that book, it says before you get anything else out of this book, you better understand. And your oppressor wanted to take some of your understanding from you. Let's help each other understand, because see, what it is that we are a chain. And whether you understand it or not, counterintuitive, often nevertheless true, contrary to what you think, you're going to go through the cemetery. Your body is going to be essentially trashed. Essentially. In the most respectful way possible. I don't mean that in no disrespectful way, but essentially, your body, this matter is meant to stay here. See, when you were born, you came through this matter, and then when you die, you'll leave out this matter. This matter, and I'm speaking on your body, it's meant to stay here. So when you transcend, because we know that you will, it's a fact. You're taking your applied knowledge. And based on that knowledge is where you will reincarnate to. The whole ancients had it all figured out. They understood. They were building temples and putting things in it because they understood that their mind was going to take them somewhere. And even until death, they understood it. They put all of that in, all of their consciousness into their tombs, all of their kingdomness into their tombs. They understood that when they arose on the other side, they called it westing. They buried the kings in the west. The sun rises in the east and sets in the west. So when you got to westing, see, they didn't even call it death. When you went west, you knew that, see, they were performing the right rituals over you. When you went west. So we got to remember, this podcast is the system being mundane? Now, these are questions that you have to ask yourself. Is the system mundane? Do you think that the spirit is in this system? Is it relevant energy in this system? Maybe. It's up to you. Because what I can tell you is that freedom has wings. I'm telling you. When you fill your mind with stories of relevant energy, that's relevant to life, your life. Because remember, you were promised it abundantly. 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 That's what you were promised. Abundant life. And that's what melon is. You can't kill melon. It's abundant. It's 70%. It's abundant. Applied knowledge. Relevant energy. Relevant energy, it actually develops your mind. You know, it will develop a certain personality, because remember, we're looking for the personality of God. Is the system mundane? Get wisdom, knowledge, but above all you're getting, above all the 66 chapters in that book, above everything that you read, I'm talking about from Genesis to the book of Revelation, above it all, you better get some understanding. And that's a really relevant statement. We need to start giving some relevant inquiries. Ask some relevant questions. Don't just sit in your pews and listen. That's what the oppressor made you do, remember? He made you sit on that plantation, sit in them pews, and listen to that foolishness. I almost came out. Now, you better start having some relevant inquiries, questions. Relevant energy will create relevant inquiries. For you to have a relevant experience here, it needs to be relevant. Don't just sit in them pews. So, relevant energy. What spirit is? Spirit is the cosmos and nature. It just has to be. And the existence of knowledge before material. That's what we're seeking. The personality of the one that gave you some knowledge before the material. Before there was a car, before there was a Tesla, there was the idea. What is a disciple? We talked about guru, and the guru is only difference between the guru and you is that the guru obedience is fixed. The guru gonna do what the spirit say do. When it say fast, that's what the guru gonna do. When it say abstain from sex, the guru got it. When it say don't eat no meat, the guru don't care. The guru is fixed on the absolute. The guru only obsession is to make it back to the one where it originated from. That's the guru's only obsession. And the difference between you and the guru is that the guru is fixed. The obedience of the guru is fixed. Remember? So we talked about what was Jesus. Could I sell you Jesus now? And would you consider Jesus to just to be a guru? I said that Jesus was a guru because this channel is about moving past Jesus. This channel is about spirituality, religion, the difference between the two. We talk about voodoo. We talk about ancestral religion. We talk about moving past Christianity. We talk about moving past what your oppressor handed you, breaking the rod of your oppressor. Because in the good book that the Bible says, because the good book, we talk about the Bible because we understand that the Bible is a book of wisdom. Take the wisdom, take the knowledge. But above all your taking of it, get understanding. That's what the 66 books want you to do. All 66 books in that Bible from Genesis to Revelation, out of all of it, it says get an understanding. And we understand that knowledge is applied wisdom. If you know something and you don't do it, you're not wise. Those are facts. So we talked about what a proverb is. When you get in your churches and your pews and they say, turn to the book of Proverbs. Well, do you know what a proverb is? A proverb is really just a short general statement with a bit of truth and advice to it. And in the book of Proverbs, it was written by Solomon. Solomon is a wise man. Just the name alone means wise. Solomon means wise. So take Solomon's wisdom for what it is. You don't have to literize him into being a man like we've literized the man Jesus into being a man. Take the wisdom and apply it. Waiting on something to pop out the sky. I'm telling you, you're looking for the supreme Godhead. You're looking for the one that created the matter, not the matter itself to come to this. You see what I'm saying? You're looking for the absolute, the one that created this Jesus that you speak of. That is the absolute. So we talked about breaking the rod of your oppressor. Envy not the oppressor and choose none of your oppressor's ways. You see, when you understand wisdom, you understand that the rod and staff shall follow you all the days of your life. So when you understand that the oppressor took your rod and gave you Jesus, you want to give the rod, give me back my rod, and I'm gonna give you back Jesus. When we move past Jesus, we take our rod back. The rod and staff shall follow you all the days of your life, and you will dwell in the house of the Lord. Remember, we're talking to the melanated people here. Logic brings about understanding. Melanin is 70% of the omnivores. If you can't get on that vibe, if you can't understand that, you probably need to stick with Jesus. But if you can't understand that you possess something way far greater, Do you know that they're using gold on your planetary stations now? And that's why they want all your gold. That's why you hear those commercials, sell me your gold. And that's why they took all the golds out of the temples. Gold doesn't rust. Let's start. We talked about element. We talked about sky, wind, fire. We talked about intelligence and mind. Let's talk about what your oppressor took from you and what he gave you. He took something from you and gave you nothing. He gave you Jesus. Now, they're using gold in the satellites, your series that you're talking to on your phone, that you're using for GPSs, all those satellites in the sky. Gold doesn't rust. Gold doesn't rust. So you better start figuring out what was taken from you. It means more than you think. So we started to give relevant energy, relevant inquiries into the afterlife. If you're not wondering what's in the afterlife for you, if you don't wonder which God is in the afterlife for you, because when you transition from this life, you will instantly be there. You will transcend instantly. And that is not the time to think about it. Relevant inquiries into the afterlife means something for you now. And we should give relevant inquiries into it. Because as we know, everyone will pass by the way. As the Egyptians called it, everyone is going to west. Everybody will go westing. And if you have talked to your ancestors, if they are performing the right religious rites over you, if you are speaking to them in your Bible, it tells you, if you be ashamed of me, I'll be ashamed of you. You better talk to your grandmama. You better talk to your granddaddy. No, they ain't here. Oh, but they here. And if you understand that you have been reincarnated, if you understand that you are a part of a DNA that came out of your grandfather's nutsack, this is just facts. I hope this doesn't offend anyone. But you are a part of liquid matter that extended out of his body. He brought you forth and gave you to your grandmother, and she incubated it in her womb. She don't know what she did. All she did was eat and sleep. And how it happened, she created lungs, arteries, capillaries, toes, eyes. Ask her how she did it. She can't tell you. It's metaphysics. So if you don't believe that you came from one comes many. Look at your generation. Turn around and look at your family reunions. One brought about many. So if I'm telling you something that you can't understand, you probably want to go back to Jesus, because what I can tell you is, if you can't transcend, it will be confusing, because you won't know who to pray to. You won't know where you are in time. So if this can't sit with you, please don't you leave Jesus, because Jesus does have a place. Because we are melanated people. We have to praise. We have to sing. We have to praise. We know that we come from somewhere subconsciously, whether you're an atheist or whether you're not. If you have melanin, you understand that something brought you forth. And if you can't understand this dispensation, please stay there. Because what I can tell you about the God and the energy that you call Jesus, what I can tell you about energy is that it knows that it has been confused here. It tells you in your good book that this Satan is running around here going henceforth back and forth, causing havoc. So if you understand the story, you understand where you are. So if you can't understand, if you can't get off Jesus, you better stay there. I encourage you to stay there. But if you can somehow figure out logic, and if you can somehow put yourself in the story of logic, I guarantee you'll find yourself on a righteous path. You'll understand that everything about this thing is about you. It's about you and whatever your purpose here is for. Everybody here has a purpose. You're not leaving this place until you fulfilled it. Even if you die young, you put something on somebody's mind. because of your demise, because of you left, because your material matter left here, you affected something. And that might have been your purpose. You don't know what the Spirit of the Lord created you for until you get in your right mind. Because in your books of wisdom, we call the Bible, it also tells you that the first thing that the Spirit of the personality of God will do, it will put you on a right path and it will establish you. Establish you. It will establish you. And somebody ought to wave I just got to wave my hand in the air for being established, because at this point of my life, I was spinning in a spiral, and the word is just to be established. That wasn't even on my thought. Establishment? No, I was too busy fighting this world. And I thank the Spirit of the Lord for understanding that my purpose, once I got on my purpose, I got established. So stay on Jesus if you can't move past this. If you can't get on this, stay there. So we also have to understand, what is a disciple? Remember, we talked about there's always one coming. There's always one coming. Disciple succession. There's always one coming. In the depiction of the Last Supper, there was Jesus in the middle and there was his disciples of 6 on each side. And so the books of the Bible are written by his disciples. There's always one coming. See, Jesus knew that he was going to die, and these disciples was going to write on it. And some of the disciples never even saw Jesus. They just writing about stories of Jesus, what they heard. Guru or God, that's up to you. But we understand that the guru obedience is fixed. It's fixed. And that's the only difference between you and the guru, is that when the Spirit of the Lord says something, the guru don't even waver. It is what it is. Fast. Okay. The obedience of the guru is just to get back to the one in which created. The absolute. Let me go back into light. I'm the light of the world. You're going to transcend into light. And if you haven't figured out that light energy affects everything here, stop some energy. Stop the sun from shining and see just how long we go. Energy, it's relevant. It's a relevant statement. Now, if you don't understand anything, understand what a relevant statement is. If you remove the sun, that statement of how long will this planet maintain is a relevant point. And the sun creates energy. Now, we understand that the moon lights up the night sky. It is the light in the night. The night light. You know, for us who have kids, and we got to put the night light on before we leave out of the room. And we only see one side of the moon. So let's start thinking about where we are. So we talked about disciples, and we talked about disciple succession. We talked about the Spirit, what it is, and the cosmos and nature. And what I determined spirit to be was just the existence prior to the material. We talked about, is this system getting mundane? Does this system have spirit in it? Could I sell you the story of Jesus today? Are your churches growing? Anything not growing is dead. Let's just make some factual statements. If something is not growing, I have a plant. It's dead. I mean, I'm going to just put it out there. It's not growing. The leaves are brown. They crinkle when I touch them. I'm not sure if it's coming back because I left it outside on the porch and it may have gotten a little frostbite. But nevertheless, contrary, counterintuitive, the thing ain't growing. Is it dead? Now, I think so. But again, I'm not here to give you any of my thoughts. But relatively speaking, if something's not growing, it is dead. Let's just go say that. And we can apply that to people. Apply that same knowledge to people. If you see people and they're not growing, let's just say that we probably have attached ourselves to some dead weight. And we don't have to worry about what they're doing. We got to worry about us. We probably need to reevaluate our attachments, our strongholds. You see, the first thing I had to do in this new system that I'm in, the assignment of myself, the first thing I had to do was I had to break some strongholds. And those strongholds looked like me. Some of them strongholds was my family members. I'm talking about close ones. But my personality was what I was seeking. I was seeking the personality of God. I was not seeking their personality or their acceptance or anything of that nature. And once I understood that some of those people had mind games played on them or they were playing mind games on me, I'm not sure. I wasn't sticking around to figure out. But once I figured out that they weren't living in light, none of what they were giving me was true. Once you figure out that somebody is feeding you garbage, if you sit at that table and you eat, because see, in your good book, that Spirit says that it will prepare a table for you in the presence of your enemies. Now, what that enemy has tried to do is tried to make you sit at your own table and eat you some foolishness. Now, I have to tell you that you have to tell that enemy no. Excuse me, I had to plug my phone in. So if you decide to sit at that table and eat what that enemy is giving you, now get to your table. So you're going to have to get rid of some strongholds. And some of those strongholds can be family members, period. Now, that's where we talked about infantilization now. Now, when you get rid of some strongholds, that takes a certain level of maturity. Now, remember, your oppressor tried to infantilize you so that you could stop growing. So when you get rid of some strongholds, that takes a certain level of maturity. Even your book says you're going to come off the playground. So I understood and I understand and I got it that these persons had mind games either played on them or they were experiencing some mind games and they were playing with my mind. And I had to then determine where I was in my own story. And I had to break some strongholds. Now that's on you. That could be the hardest part of this new journey because it appears that you're alone, but I can guarantee you you're not alone. Even in your good books, it says you're never alone. I'll never leave you lonely. See, you got to remove faith and you don't have to start standing on it. See, in Christianity, I was explaining this to a good friend of mine. She said, I told her, I said, well, you know, Christianity have you living on faith. And she said, what do you mean? And I said, well, at some point you have to know. Now, because I've been through what I've been through, I know. I don't have to have faith that I'm standing on a rock. I know it. I know that there's a rock underneath my feet. And I mean that in a spiritual way. And I also mean it in a literal way. I know that there's a rock underneath my feet. Earth. It's literal and it's spiritual. So I have removed some faith thinking and I've went to some knowing. I know now. And when you know, it brings about a certain confidence. I know my name now. You see, my mother took my name from me as a part of the abuse. That's why sometimes you have to understand what you're doing is working on the root. When you change your children's name and you do, see, you're doing the same thing your oppressor did. When you are telling that baby to call that man daddy and he ain't that man daddy, you're doing what the oppressor did. You are keeping knowledge. So you have to start from a truthful place in order to get on a righteous path. And it may hurt. Some people may not like the truth. I know a lot of people that don't like truth. But then I also know a lot of people that the lies are being applied to, and they don't want you lying to them. They want you to get on truth. You see how it has to balance? There are the people that the lies are being applied to, and then there are the people that are doing the lying. Somebody got to say no more. Now, that's where the spirituality walk gets where you have to break away from the liars. Essentially. So that's up to you. And there are one group of society that have made countless promises. I'm just going to put that out there and you do what you want. Now, I'm talking about personal strongholds, and then I'm also talking about some other strongholds in the universe. Remember the topic today is the system getting mundane? In this system, there is one group of society that countless times, over and over again, have made promises. Would you consider that group of society liars? Now, we've already talked about breaking away from strongholds and breaking away from lies. See, there's not just one weapon. Remember, my show is called Use Your Weapon. Remember to like, subscribe, and share. It would definitely help me. So there's one group of society, and that's facts. You know, and I don't really want to get into all of that because, you know, race only matters here. It only matters here. It only matters here. If you think about it in terms of thinking about it, race only matters here on this planet because of this system. Is the system mundane? Could I sell you the story of Jesus today? Could I sell you what the oppressor fed you today? If I couldn't sell it to you, then you have to consider, is it growing? And anything not growing is dead. Now, these are facts. Let's keep spinning because the world keeps spinning. That's why we talked about the absolute in religion, because what we understand in the absolute is this world gonna keep spinning regardless of whether you get it or not. Get it or not, we spin it. Understand it or not, we spin it. Right now, we are sitting or walking or standing on something that is already currently rotating or wobbling or whatever you want to say. We're walking forward on something that's moving through space. Those are facts. Whether you understand it, whether you want to think about it, whether you can, these are facts. And I don't care how many Jesuses you holler in the air, these are facts. So let's talk about giving relevant inquiries to relevant questions. Don't just sit in these pews. Let's have relevant inquiries. Because, see, if you leave here in your situation, if you weren't relevant, if you didn't give relevant energy to your life, I'm not sure. So we talked about relevant energy. We talked about freedom, and I'm almost done here. We should talk about internal dependence. Internal dependence. Internally, what do you depend on? Internal dependence. That's a word. Internally, what do you depend on? Relevant inquiries. Internal dependence. Internally, what is it that gives you, that gives you the confidence to get up and do you, that gives you that thing, that that je ne sais quoi? What is it? Internal dependency. Internal. It's nothing out here. I can guarantee you didn't open your eyes to see something so fantastic that it gave you so much energy. Whatever it is that you saw, it could not possibly give you internal dependence from the inside out. That's why you are the light of the world, from the inside out. So these are relevant inquiries. Freedom has wings. And evolution is actually going somewhere. This world is evolving. It's evolving into artificial intelligence. AI. Now, let's look at the concept of artificial intelligence. Now, they kept the word intelligence because they understand that the mind is what we're after. Now, they don't particularly care about the matter. We just need something to house the intelligence. Now, if you understand melanin, if you understand that some people aren't melanin, they have a lack of melanin. And if you understand that, you understand that some people won't make the spin. And when I say we're spinning towards warming. Now, we come from melanated places like Africa. It warms up, we go back to being our black selves. You know? What was lost can be found. If it starts to warm up, we start to go back black. Throw your fist in there. You know? So if you can understand that, if you go back to the melon, your melanated persons or lack of melanin persons, they don't hear or feel what we feel. So when you understand, when I ask you, is this system getting mundane? I'm really asking you, could I sell you what the oppressor sold you before? If you can look at the behaviors of your oppressor can't get it right. And that's where we understand that in this system, there are spinning planets that spin counterintuitively. And there are spinning planets that spin intuitively. Now, the ones that spin counterintuitively, those are giving off negative energy. If you are an electrician, you understand magnetic and energy. You understand they cancel each other out. You understand that. You understand if you were to put a magnet next to your computers, you understand that it will start to interfere with that signal. This is more metaphysics. Now, remember, I told you if you can't get past Jesus, you better stay there. If you can't get past logic, you better stay on Jesus. Holler his name in the air and keep it there. Now, your oppressor gave you Jesus now, but understand that. But if you can't move past it, stay there. Now, you have to understand that in this system, there is magnetic energy as well as there are energy. Negative, positive. Everybody went to school. Everybody understand negative and positive. Negative and positive is positive, positive, negative, all that good stuff. But if you're an electrician, you really understand how magnetic energy affects this system. So when you understand that there are planets that rotate counterintuitively, you understand that maybe your oppressor just can't feel what 70% of the universe is, which is dark matter, melanated matter. She can't feel it. That's why if you ask most Caucasian persons, they will say, why do you like to have sex with Black people? They'll say, because I can feel it. I can feel the vibration. It feels different. And you'll ask women and they'll say, I want to have healthy babies. You understand that your oppressor has a recessive gene. You're not doing your offspring any. Now, I understand love. Love is love, and love will oversee anything. But understand that your oppressor has a recessive gene, and you're not doing your offspring any favors. Because once you understand what recessive means, you know you didn't pass on anything that could benefit. Now, these are facts. These are not me going one way or another. We're talking about, is this system mundane? Is it? Could I sell this system to you now? Is it even a right system? Nothing in this system makes sense. Nothing is actually working in this system. So if I couldn't sell you this system now, is it tried? Is it true? Is it absolute? Could I sell you the story of the man Jesus now? Does it make sense now? If it does, stay there. If it doesn't, let's keep riding. Relevant energy. So we talked about this system. Now let's talk about who brightens your wisdom lamp. What brightens your wisdom lamp? You're supposed to be light. What brightens your light? Relevant inquiries. That was a relevant inquiry. That was an actual real question. What brightens your lamp of wisdom? Who fills your oil? Who fills that lamp for you? What fills that lamp for you? Is your lamp full? Are you the light of the world? Are you the hero in your own story? These are relevant inquiries. Relevant inquiries. Internal dependence. What do you depend on internally? See, this is how you find spirit. How you find religion is you go on the GPS and you find you a church, local church, and you get dressed and you go to the local church. But if you're looking for spirit, What do you internally depend on? Internally. When you sit with you, what brightens your lamp of wisdom? What fills and who fills your oil? Relevant inquiries into the afterlife and even into this life. See, evolution will take you somewhere. This world is evolving. Like I said, it's evolving into artificial intelligence. It understands that their body, their non-melanated body, see, they understand that their non-melanated body won't make the spin. They understand. They understand. Disheartening as some of them will be, because what you're seeing is you're seeing a people die very slow. And we are keeping our own problem alive. Give blood. We need blood. See, we got to come off this. See, we don't need what they need. What will kill us will definitely kill them. What will kill them will not kill us. Let's stop all the entanglement. Let's stop all the integration. See, they need to integrate. And maybe it wasn't obvious when integration was happening, but if it's not obvious now, we're in trouble. If you can't see that we're keeping them alive, you're in trouble. Now, that's a thought. Do what you want to do with it. Again, I'm not here to give you anything or take nothing away from you. This is all logic. This is all facts. These are all things that you can go and look up yourself. I just have given you a short version of it. But actually, these are facts. This is not me just talking out the side of my head. Recessive genes, they're a fact for them. So moving on. Is the system getting mundane? What fills your oil? Relevant energy. You know, I'm almost done here because I've spent a lot of time here today. And then there's one group of society that has made countless promises. Countless. So remember, this is use your weapon. We talk about religion. We talk about spirit. We talk about the absolute. We talk about voodoo today. We didn't talk about it, but I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. We talk about relevant energy. This is use your weapon. There's not just one weapon. And I know that if you look over your life and if you look over your ancestors' life, there has not just been one weapon. My ancestors came over here on ship. That was a weapon. Chains around their neck. That was a weapon. The slave Bible. That was a weapon. But before the Bible, the lack of literacy. That was a weapon. There's not just one weapon. If you don't get on this horse and start riding it. But again, if you can't move past Jesus, if you can't understand facts, you better stay where you are. Moving past Jesus is a sense of logic. And I understand that this world has removed logic from you. So if you can't move past Jesus, you better stay where you are. But if you're looking for spirit, this is where I have understood spirit to be. And this is just my logging of spirit. Now, if it makes sense for you, you make sense for it. But spirit to me is just cosmos and the nature. I can look up and I can see myself in nature. I am melon. My melon speaks to the melon in the universe. It just makes. And quantum entanglement, remember that. And when you get off of this line, I want you to look it up. It's a real thing. You know, Einstein and Niels Bohr, they used to have this debate. And I actually don't think Einstein is one of the brightest scientists. I think they want to pontificate, Einstein. But at the end of the day, I don't think Einstein knew more or less than anything else. I actually think that Niels Bohr understood it better, especially entanglement, quantum entanglement. And they have this thing in science because none of the scientists understand quantum entanglement. And we talked about what quantum entanglement is. Quantum entanglement means that in the omniverse, there is something up there that is controlling the matter down here. It's called quantum entanglement. The name quantum means time all by itself. Quantum entanglement. So scientists don't understand what that is, but they know that it exists. And that's what I'm understanding to you. And all you people that are on religion and you don't want science, well, science is not anything other than it's just the details of how things are. They don't understand how it became to be. They're not the creators. But what they can give you is some details on how it works, how the atom works, how the electrons and the atom work. The atom in your story, the atom in your body. You know what I'm saying? You better look at what your oppressor handed you. So when I tell you, if you can't make sense out of what's pulling you, they gave you Jesus because they understood that we were created to praise. But if you're not listening to your ancestors, if you're not listening, Jesus is not your ancestor. Let's put that on out there. Jesus, if you can find where he is, because supposedly he got up, but nobody really knows where he went when he got up. Because I've asked Christians, where did he go? And all you get is, he got up. Now, apparently he got up and he descended in the sky because we're waiting on him to come from the sky. In your book of Revelations, he's going to descend upon you. So obviously he got up and he went somewhere. And we can't find a cousin, an auntie, a third cousin removed, a married into marriage, because she did marry Joseph. So that means that we can't find nothing. We can't find no family members of even Joseph. Now, Mary married Joseph. So that meant that two families came together. Full families. Where are the aunties? Where are the uncles of this Jesus? So I'm not here to talk about that, but what I'm here to say is let's start making sense, because he got up. But where did he go? And where are the family members of Jesus? There were two huge families that came together. And they had the biggest thing in the world, the best thing in the world. They had the baby Jesus, the Son of God. Where did they go? He got up and went where? These are relevant inquiries. And I know people have some good answers, but then when you go home and put logic to these answers, it should be an auntie somewhere. You know, Mary had a sister, Elizabeth. So I don't know. Let's not go into that. But we talked about counterintuitiveness. Now we know what counterintuitive. Now remember we talked about Proverbs. When you go in your good books on tomorrow and they tell you to turn into the books of Proverbs. Now you got to understand what a proverb is. A proverb is a general statement that attaches truth and advice. Now, your book of Proverbs was written by Solomon. Solomon is a wise man. That's what the word Solomon means. It means wise. So when you get to the book of Proverbs tomorrow, whenever you read, just understand that you're just reading a statement of general advice with a piece of truth and advice attached to it. And these are Solomon's words. You don't have to literize it. Just take the advice and apply it. You don't have to go around going, oh, Solomon, he was alive. Just take the advice and move on. To know wisdom and instruction is to perceive the words and to understand. To know wisdom and to know instruction it helps your perception. It helps your perception. So let's start off with some absolute statements. We understand that the absolute is nothing that we can understand. The mind of God, we will never understand. But understand that we are seeking it. We're seeking the personality of such. When you go to churches and you're looking for this man Jesus to come, what are you actually looking for? What are you there for? You're there to seek the personality of that God. You want to be like it. You want to sit at the feet of it. Oh, I want to be like him. That's what you're seeking. The personality of one that you call Jesus. That's the only way you're going to get into this heaven that you speak of, is that you have to have the right mind of God. You have to seek the personality of the one that you believe is God. Let's bring knowledge into it. So you're seeking a personality. Let's be clear. You're seeking the Godhead of one. So in seeking the Godhead of one, you are seeking that wisdom. That's why you are worshiping God, because he has a certain level of wisdom that was able to create all things, because God is omnipresent, is omniscient. That means it's everywhere. Omniscient means that God is everywhere. It's in anything. When you have an omniscient God, God is everything. And in the concept of God being everything, God has been, he's been my car. When I needed to get somewhere in an emergency, God has been my car. I'm driving, I ain't paying no attention. He's been my car. She's been my car. God has been my child. My child has taught me so much. A child will lead them. God has been my wallet. When I had an emergency, guess what? I pulled out my wallet and said, oh. So when you can understand that God is whatever, whenever, however, whatever, because the Spirit of the Lord is in here, and you can apply it to whatever you want to apply it to. That's how you become knowledgeable. That's how you start manifesting destiny. You come off of faith and you know that you're standing on it. I don't have faith that I'm standing on a rock. At some point, I know that what I'm on is a rock. For sure. For sure. For sure. I'm for certain. I am for certain that what I'm on is solid rock and everything else is sinking sand. And so when I start applying knowledge to what I'm seeking, I understand that I'm seeking wisdom. I'm understanding that I'm seeking discretion. I am seeking a personality of one that I'm seeking that has the intelligence of all intelligence. The one that I'm seeking has the intelligence of all intelligence. Think about everything that you see here, everyone that you see here, the intelligence of it or them or whatever is nothing. They can't create anything other than they're the architect of their own life. But again, their life was granted to them by one. So think about who you are, where you are in the story, and what internally feeds you. And what are you yielding? What are you yielding? When you put in the ground, what seeds are you yield? What is your yield? And that's success. Everybody chasing money, but I'm asking you, what are you yielding? When you tilt your spiritual ground, what is coming up? That's your yield. You know, I have a property management company, and my property management company is the 25th Dynasty, and we manage properties. If you have any rental properties, you know, let us help you fill them. You know, but in the big scheme of things, I always tell my owners, you want to yield. See, we collect because I understand that what's in your homes, in your properties, they're souls. I treat my property management company completely different. I do not envy the oppressor, and I choose none of the oppressor's ways. I don't have a heaven or hell to put you in. I don't have a backyard that puts you in heaven or hell. So I understand that the oppressor has done something. And I understand that the Spirit of the Lord is reversing. And in the Spirit of the Lord, it uses us. So the skill set that I got in my abuse, it is because I have to be. I'm in a male, white dominated world. And I'm dealing with melanated people because my dynasty is for melanated persons. Because I understand that when you stay in these Airbnbs and when you stay in these properties of your oppressor, you're only feeding the monster. Think about it. You can't stop feeding the monster unless you stop feeding the monster. Now, I'm not saying it may seem like I'm saying that, you know, the oppressor is everything without melanin. No. Because what you understand is your mind is you. Now, there are some people without melanin that have transcended their bodies and their mind understands, you know, and they don't live on white supremacy. Now, if you've got some melanated people in your life and they don't live on white supremacy, they've already transcended their body. They don't think their body means nothing because it's white. They understand because it's white, it actually lacks something. Because if you look around, the only thing that's white in the universe is them. The trees are brown, the leaves are green. There's nothing that grows white in the universe, in the forest. You might have some white flowers or whatever, but you know, as far as sustaining, there's nothing that grows white that you should be eating. Sugar is brown. Sugar cane sugar is brown. Nothing actually grows white that is good for you. Everything white is bleached of color. So you have to understand, and they understand, the ones that have transcended, they understand that they actually, whatever has placed them on this earth, their consciousness put them in a white body on this earth. And there's nothing that they could have done or nothing that they could do or nothing that we could do. Whatever we had in our consciousness produced us through melanin. Whatever they had in their consciousness produced them through non-melanated people. Now, these are facts. You are melanated. Some are not. These are facts. Melanin is in the universe is 70% of the universe. These are facts. You can make it racist statements if you want, but I'm trying to stay on facts. Now, once you understand, and once they understand melanin. A lot of them, they try to take melanated pills. They taking them all the time. But once you have those type of people that have transcended, what they're trying to do is they're trying to reincarnate in a black body. Their next life, they want a black body. Because you got to understand, you're going to reincarnate. You're not dying. And even if you don't want to pontificate, if you don't want to think about it, but let's just break it down to the simples, because Christianity breaks things down to just the simple things. You got to be almost so simple to not get this. Christianity breaks it down. So if you think about where you're going, where you are going. Now, we're going to give relevant inquiries to where we're going. We know that we're going to West, and we know what Westing is. We know it. So we should give some relevant inquiries into it. We know it. But instead, Christianity wants you to believe that something's going to pop out the sky and save you. That everybody is not going to see death. Everybody ain't going to see death. And that's a true statement. And only because if you believe that you are going to heaven or hell, you don't believe that you die. You either going to be here or you're going to be there, but you're going to be alive here or there. So relevant inquiries into the afterlife, because you're not dying. So when you think about the actual action of reincarnating, when you leave here, you are going somewhere. Your intelligence is going somewhere. Relevant inquiries. And if you don't believe it, you can go back to Christianity because you're still going somewhere. You're going to heaven or hell, but you're still going somewhere. And if you can't get past, or if you can't think past the Jesus situation, then go back. But when I want to encourage you that when you go back, you're still going somewhere. You're either going here or there, but you ain't done. So even in that, you should give relevant inquiries. Relevant inquiries into the afterlife. Because it matters here. You don't think about it when you're there. It's too late. You've already transcended. So we've thought about counterintuitiveness. Nevertheless, it's just common sense, people. It's just common sense. Nevertheless. And I'm almost done. We are almost done. We talked about the book of Proverbs. We talked about public usefulness. We talked about so much, but if you go back and read and just go back over the channel, Jesus, God, a Guru, the assignment is you. I love the one where we talked about, are you a liar or are you crazy? Now you have to decide, are the people in your life, or are you a liar or are you just crazy? And the way you can figure that out, and I won't go deep into it, but if you are living a lie and you know it's a lie, then you're a liar. And you can reverse lies. You can just start telling the truth. But if you're crazy, and I know some crazy people, if you're crazy, you are actually living these lies. And you are walking down lie street. Because if you're living these lies, you don't know where you're going. Your destination is unknown because you're driving and you're going to a place that really isn't there because you've created it in your mind. It's a lie. So will you ever get there? I don't know. If you're thinking it in terms of getting to a destination, if I tell you something is somewhere down the street and it's not down the street, you're never going to get there. Not with my directions, you're not. So, relevant inquiries into the afterlife, because that's where you're going. Pretty much. You know, today you might be going out to dinner. Tonight you might be going out to a date. But overall, at the end of this thing, let's give some relevant inquiries. Let's have a great time here, but let's get wisdom, knowledge, and let's apply it, because above all things, applied knowledge. Where you land is important. Evolution is important. So let's talk about the system. Is it getting mundane? Did we answer any questions about, is this system mundane today? Could the system use more spirit? Is spirit even in the system? You know, is it mundane? Could I sell you religion today? Could I sell you Jesus today? And are these churches filling up on it? I mean, I know that there are some fabulous philosophers, and the theologians out there are great. I mean, like, I enjoy watching, for instance, T.D. Jakes. I think he's one of the greatest theologians. He is knowledgeable. And his daughter, Sarah Jakes, she feeds my spirit. I love to see a Black woman doing it. But I understand that I can only go so far with that. Because I've asked myself some relevant questions. What brightens my wisdom lamp? Did that make me feel good? And did I get something from it? What brightens my wisdom lamp? And who fills my oil? You know? So I live on ancestral knowledge. My grandparents are my ancestors. And I pray to them. And I never forget to remember where my blessings come from. And I understand that there is a supreme knowledge. I understand that. And the best person for me to follow, because I understand that, are my ancestors. At best, I'll end up with my own people. And that's why wisdom of who you are is nothing can substitute wisdom. Nothing. You can fake it till you make it, but you're going to have to eventually make it. Faking it is all right. And you look good. You look like you making it. But understand, you're going to eventually have to make it. So that faking is going to have to be turned into making it. So could I sell you Jesus today? Could I say that there's a man walking on water somewhere, turning bread and feeding, feeding massive people with 5 loaves of bread and fish? And could I sell you that? He's walking on water over there, y'all. Y'all better go. Go. So remember, this is my model here. And this is my model for my management company, the 25th Dynasty. I am the epiphanist, on this channel, I'm the epiphanist because I have quite a bit of epiphanies. However, because of the will of your oppressor, you must consider Because of the will of your oppressor, you must consider. Now, I'm not telling you you must believe, but because of the will of the one that has consistently given out promises, broken and false promises, because of the will of that one that walks the earth now, you have to consider. And that is a relevant inquiry. So we're going to leave that there, and we're going to meet next Saturday. We're going to talk about awakeness. You know, I have a property management company, and I had the opportunity to talk to one of my um, tenants, and actually, she's in one of my Airbnbs, and she is a neuroscientist, and we were talking about dreams, and we have to understand that we're talking about Westing, and we're talking about relative into the afterlife. But do you understand that when you sleep, you're essentially in the closest realm of this dispensation that you can get to death? You're unaware, you've checked out, and you are not in your material body. Your material, it's almost like you've docked the avatar. So when you're asleep, you're at the closest point of death. And actually, when you dream, you are in a lucid point. Some people have lucid dreams, and lucid dreams are when they are, I have lucid dreams, and my spirit calls them that I'm having visions in my head, in my bed, when I ask my spirit to tell me, what is this? Why is this? Because I was not an avid dreamer until about 4 years ago. But the lucid dreams are when you aren't really asleep, but you're not really woke. And so those are your lucid dreams. And I have a lot of them, quite frankly. And the spirits that I speak to, they call them, visions in your head, in your bed. Now, when you're in a solid sleep state, you're pretty much in a form of, I would say, unconsciousness. You're not aware. You're actually sleep. It's what I would call when someone sedates you right before you go under in surgery. I've had surgery before, and I was here, but I wasn't here. They were able to really cut on my body, and I not feel it. That's a powerful thing. I am laying here and they are inside of me, cutting on me, and I don't know it. So those are those type of dreams when you don't even, you're not aware. You're checked out. You're somewhere else. You're in the dream. So you have to understand that dreaming is a relative state. You spend most of your life sleeping, and then you die. So you really only spend a few hours in an awakeful state. So you have to be relevant in your awakeful state. You have to be moving towards purpose in your awakeful state. Because your body is going to have to dock, and it's going to have to rest every day. So when I tell you that your mind matters here, that's why they're going into artificial intelligence. They're taking their minds. Counterintuitive people, often, nevertheless, contrary to what you believe, common sense is happening all around you. Common sense is happening all around you. Now, a lot of people putting on makeup, putting on, eyelashes, and all that's cute. All that's relative. All that needs to happen. I need to look as cute as I probably can need some of them too. But nevertheless, often, nevertheless, contrary to what I believe, there's some relevant inquiries that we need to be talking about. So let's start talking about dreams. So the next podcast, we're going to talk about dreams. I'm going to tell you my dream. I had a dream that I threw myself off of a building in a lucid state. It was a vision in my head, in my bed. So I don't know if I should call it a dream or a vision or what, but it was an elusive dream. So the next situation when we meet again on Saturday at 8:44, I want to talk about dreams. Let's go into dreams. There was a great, I loved his thought process. His name is Carl Jung. And he is a scientist or a philosopher. He's probably a couple of things, But he understood, and he was a avid lover of the mind. Not the brain, but the mind. And he would go to what we essentially call crazy houses, or houses where there are people with what we deem to be mental institutions. And he would love to speak to them, because what he understood was everything was relative in their minds. What was happening to them was happening in their minds. And you can't take it away from them, because you are making them feel as though what's happening to them is not real. And clearly, if somebody would have told me that we were going to be running around here with masks on, we were going to be running around here talking about artificial intelligence, we were going to be running around here talking about taking jobs from people. If somebody would have told me that we were going to be running around here doing all these things, if I had the intuition and I was born later on in life, I'm sure there was somebody in one of these houses that foretold this, and they thought that they were crazy. Cars, driving. Just like somebody is saying now, there's going to be cars that are flying through airs. They're going to be flying in the air. Now we can understand it. But if you were talking to people who had forward thinking before people understood forward thinking, you would have thought they were crazy. They were talking about that. Yeah, there's going to be some. I see cars in the air. But now there really are going to be some cars in the air. That's just like, well, are these people really crazy? Or was your oppressor trying to shut them up? Because there are wisdom seekers. There are soothsayers. There are people that have knowledge. There are people that have sight. That's what you call stir up your gifts. In your good book of wisdom, it tells you you have gifts. Stir them up. I have a gift. If I don't stir up my gift, guess what? If you don't use it, you lose it. So these are things that we need to understand. When you stir up your gifts, once you when you get on your righteous path and you start to see all your relative matter, all the things that were relative in your life, everything that applied knowledge to you and who you are, I understand. And so with my understanding, I understand my gifts. In understanding your gift, you have to operate in your gifts. You have to possess it. If somebody give you a house and you never take possession of it, if you never move in, you never get the benefit of it. So this is me, and this is use your weapon, and this is me sounding my trumpet. This is me stirring up my gifts. This is me saying there is a logic out there that speaks to you and me. If you have melon, you feel it. It's in you. And if you don't have melon, the whole purpose of this journey on this earth was to teach you how to tap into it, because you can't feel it. That's why you keep making wrong decisions, because you can't feel right. So all of this was to train the non-melanated for their thinking. If you can train someone how to think, you can train behaviors. All of this was to train them how to think, because we still have to live in this universe with non-melanated entities, and they still spin counterclockwise. But this is to teach them. This is to teach them that you may not feel it, but think it through. Take that thought and put it to an artificial intelligence. And I don't know, maybe it might be better. It might be better that because the artificial intelligence will start to calculate that they crazy and start to try to save them, which would essentially mean that it ain't going to take over. But you can't think that you're going to have an intelligence and an intelligence ain't going to get intelligent. Anything that's not growing is dead, remember. And I'm choking, so I got to go. Next topic. Dreams. This is Use Your Weapon, and I'm choking. I'll see you later. Thanks for joining. Oh my goodness, I have got to end these screens, right? So okay, yeah, end it, please.